Hello, this is the Confessions podcast. Thank you for downloading some more idiocy from Radio 2. Anyway, here we have more sinful tales from the incredibly bad Radio 2 listener. This week's concise collection features a maliciously moshing Santa. It was a half right, or 2/3 right. A dastardly driving instructor, 2/3 right. A reprehensible radio operator, 2/3 right. And a syrupy scallywag. Oh well, it was good in the end. Now this one came in 2 months ago, and I've been keeping it for December the 1st because it's a festive one. Ray says, "Forgive me, Simon, for I have sinned, although quite a while ago, whilst working at a large shopping mall in Southern California, one Christmas season. I need to confess, as I fear my deed may have permanently scarred the minds of a number of innocent children. Christmas in Southern California can be a rather odd experience due to the fact that it's sunny and warm about 340 days a year. So it can be difficult to get into the spirit of the season in the midst of palm trees and people dressed in skimpy clothing. I mean, it must be awful for you. The shopping malls, therefore, tend to go way, way over the top in decorating the place to jazz things up and get people in the mood to spend with tinsel, lights, baubles. Could we go to Southern California for a few outside broadcasts? Snowmen and reindeer, so much in evidence that you can't swing a dead elf without hitting something festive. You get the picture. One Christmas, the shopping mall I worked at really pushed the sleigh out and had a 15-foot-tall animated talking Santa Claus. Now, imagine what that's like, a 15-foot-tall animated talking Santa Claus. The thing was stunning for kids, but a nightmare-inducing thing for adults. Its arms, head and eyes all moved, and it also mouthed and spoke the usual phrases like Merry Christmas and Ho 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 in a big booming voice. Frankly, it freaked me out every time I had to walk past it, and I had to walk past the monster about 10 times a day. You'd love this, Matthew, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
this is like
Home from home.
One at your house.
I'm going to get one, a 15-foot tall one. Yes, let's put that in the kitchen. Yes.
In fact, you're going to like this the more this goes on. Early one morning, the maintenance people accidentally left the door to the small control room in the back of this horrific robot open. Being the naturally curious type, I went inside to see how Santa ticked and to find out if I could disable the movement and especially the voice to ease my discomfort and that of every sane adult within a 2-mile radius. To my surprise, I found the pre-recorded voice was on a simple memory stick. Further, the door to the control room also had a hasp, but no padlock. It was completely unsecured. A wicked idea instantly sprang to my twisted mind, driven mad by this hideous living statue. The next day was a busy pre-Christmas Saturday, and I arrived at work at the mall extra early, cautiously sneaking into Santa's control room. And working quickly, I extracted the memory stick of Santa talking and replaced it with my own specially prepared memory stick, which I then superglued into place to ensure it wouldn't be quickly defeated. I then went back out and locked the control room door with my own heavy-duty padlock, slid quietly away and tried to control my mirth at what I hoped was going to come. At exactly 10 o'clock, the automatic timer on Giant Santa switched on his power. His arms started to move, his head turned and his eyes looked about. Children looked on in wonder, mesmerised by the sight of Mega Claus coming to life. His mouth opened, and the little kiddies wondered what he would say. I can pretty much guarantee that none of the children or their parents were ready for what then came out of Santa's mouth. Well, what would you program? This massive man in a red suit did not say, ho, ho, ho. What blasted out of his grinning open mouth instead were extracts from songs chosen to amuse me and shock everybody else. It started with Pink Floyd's Young Lust. Now, in case you're not familiar with this, the words go, I am just a new boy, stranger in this town. Where are all the good times? Who's going to show this stranger around? Ooh, I need a dirty woman. Ooh, I need a dirty girl. So it's like this, really. This is Santa in the mall in California. Take it, Santa. Yeah. So by now everyone's going, right, okay, this is interesting. So then it moves off to other exciting treats. Next, Santa gives us this.
Oh, yeah.
AC/DC's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Santa, surely not. Anyway, so then what would you program? What would be the most exciting thing to program coming out of a Santa Claus if you've affected its memory? Well, I'll tell you. This comes next. Get your rocks up. Okay, so you get the general picture. So we're going crazy in this mal, and we finally finished with it. Let me see if I can just program my own computer so it does the right thing here. Right, so we got Santa, and we got it on a mini disc. And it's not giving me that. Anyway, it finishes with Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, because it starts with "We come from the land of ice and snow." Anyway, we managed to get this out before someone finally managed to disconnect the power to Santa, and he finally fell silent once again. As I wiped the tears of laughter from my eyes, I looked around at the shoppers who had witnessed the event. Children looked distinctly confused and slightly frightened. Ladies looked utterly horrified. Almost every man was in hysterics and howling with laughter. It took 24 hours to get Santa back in working order, as they needed a new recording, so we all had one peaceful day in the Mall. However, the event had managed to make the local news amidst much amusement, and giant possessed Santa was thankfully retired after just one season at the Mall. So I would like to say sorry to any kiddywinks that had bad dreams or warped minds caused by my prank, and hope that they and you will forgive me as an early Christmas present. I have indeed been a very, very bad boy. Well, it's Ray. We're kicking off the whole Christmas thing with a story from South California and reprogramming the Mega Claus. What do you make of that, Sister Rebecca?
I thought there was something a bit weirdly premeditated about the super gluing the memory stick in and the padlock.
Yeah.
But I thought that he was going to record a really sinister script that would terrify children, you know, in Santa's creepy voice. But he didn't. He played some quite decent music. So for that reason, and he caused lots of amusement, I'm going to forgive.
So it could have been worse.
Could have been much worse, yeah.
What were you expecting him to say?
Well, some kind of, you know, just evil Santa voice coming out and giving out horrible messages that really would traumatise them.
I don't think we'd have been allowed to read that one out,
okay.
Probably. Anyway, Sister Bobby from the Priory, what do you think?
I was already impressed by his forethought, actually. I thought the super gluing and the providing of the lock was really impressive. Really, really impressive. However, unforgiven, Ray, with your Christmas mischief, because actually that might have been those children's one visit to the mall that you spoilt. And actually, I don't think it's worth spoiling those children's fun just for your fun. So unforgiven.
Really? Even though they got some Immigrant Song and some Primal Scream?
No.
What do you think, Dr. Mosh?
Well,
sorry, Matthew.
Yes, the
Giving
problem.
it away.
Yeah. Oh, who'd have thought? Yeah. Oh dear. A 15-foot-tall animatronic Santa, the bane of your life if you had to work in that shopping mall. So I would say we should forgive on behalf of all of those people who had to work in that shopping mall, had to put up with the massive Santa and his ho-ho-hos. And it couldn't come up with a better playlist. Led Zepp, Primal Scream, AC/DC, Pink Floyd.
That's pretty
Nothing
good.
wrong with that.
And more importantly, you want one of those Santas outside your house.
Yes, please.
All right, okay. Mark sends in tonight's tale. Dear Father Simon and the team, today I am a man who loves driving, especially driving fast cars on circuits, and I am a multiple car racing champion.
Wow.
On the PlayStation.
Oh.
However, as a teenager in the 1970s, I found the whole learning to drive process particularly difficult. I'm one of those annoying people who is easily distracted and gets bored very quickly. So the idea of having to sit and concentrate for hours on end filled me with horror, as did the driving instructor I had. She was a particularly fierce lady who had no problem with shouting at her hapless students, and on one occasion actually threw the poor soul out of her car, abandoning him in the middle of a town 10 miles from where he lived with no means of getting home.
What? And they charged him for it, I bet.
So I approached each driving lesson with an increasing sensation of fear, loathing and anxiety.
Oh.
My instructor would arrive in her red Ford Fiesta and take me on a 2-hour journey filled with frustration, failed manoeuvres and outbursts of idiot, idiot, idiot boy! Idiot boy!
Oh, how encouraging, how encouraging.
One day I decided I'd had enough and pleaded with my parents to bring this torture to an end. OK, we lived in the heart of rural Kent and there was no train station and infrequent buses, but surely Mum and Dad could taxi me to and from my friends in Gravesend? Oh, apparently the answer to that is no. I was forced to endure, therefore, an alternative approach. On the morning of my next lesson, I decided to pretend I wasn't in when she came knocking at the door. The plan was idiot-proof. I was home alone, Mum and Dad at work, and Sister was at school. At the appointed hour, there came the familiar doorbell.
Oh, fantastic.
To announce her arrival. The plan kicked in.
Excellent.
I sat upstairs in my room. It's not much of a plan, actually. I sat upstairs in my room and ignored the doorbell.
Brilliant.
Ignored what?
It went again. Now, there is no one here, I'm saying to myself, so please get the message and leave.
Did she? No. No, she didn't. She's persistent, isn't she, this one?
You haven't heard that. You
Oh, right,
heard
sorry. Haven't heard the
most of
sixth
it.
time. Yeah, okay.
Aren't some people's dogs really sensitive to this?
They are.
Yeah.
They'll be
Yes, they
hating
are.
it.
That's
We
nice
are
of you.
getting complaints right now. Emails
After
flooding in now.
many bing bongs, there was some blessed silence. But my reprieve was short-lived. Mark! I hear coming through the letterbox. Mark, it's Jean!
I know you're there.
Mark!
You're very good at this.
Please go away. I have forgotten you're here. I've gone out, is what I'm thinking. Anyway, it goes on and on. Then, quiet. Phew, my idiot-proof plan had worked. I was free. So I began to consider my options. What would I say to Mum and Dad? What would I tell her eventually? And then the house phone started ringing. This was before mobile phones. What to do? Do I answer it? It could be her. Little did I realise at the time that my tenacious instructor was indeed calling me from a neighbour's house.
A neighbour's house?
The neighbour's house. The phone stopped, the moment passed, and I was once again free.
we
Free
not
to
got a
plan
phone sound
the
effect?
rest of my day.
Okay.
And I'm sitting in bed planning the rest of my day.
Like you do.
Oh, for goodness sake, leave me alone, woman! There's no one here! Get the message! I retreated to my room and sat on my bed, waiting for her to finally give up and go away. Then I heard an unusual sound. A thumping sound. It seemed to come from the wall of my house. I looked up to see the top of a wooden ladder
Unbelievable.
placed against my window frame.
How did she...
And my bedroom window was open. I heard the steps of someone climbing the ladder towards my bedroom. I had a moment of panic. Would this woman go to any means to drag me out of the house? I made a snap decision and I hit the deck. Yes, my young mind decided that the best course of action was not to face up to my dishonesty, but to lie on the floor, face down. Then I heard a voice at my window.
Here we go.
Oh my God, I think he's dead. Call an ambulance. I sat up. But it was too late. She had found a passing window cleaner and asked him to explore the open bedroom window. The poor man had had the fright of his life, and the neighbour's phone was used to call an ambulance and my dad. Both arrived at the same time. My poor dad...
It's arrived.
That's why you're booked. My poor dad had rushed from work in South London in record time. He let the ambulance men, her, and the window cleaner into our house. Despite my protestations, I was strapped to a stretcher and carried down the stairs in front of a growing crowd and taken at speed to a local A&E unit. There I was stripped by a female nurse, oh the shame and ignominy, and given a full checkup. To this day, my mum and my dearly departed dad do not know the truth. It's not their forgiveness I seek, however, nor is it the forgiveness of you, the taxpayer, whose money I clearly wasted. I certainly don't seek forgiveness from her,
No.
who did actually eventually coax me through my driving test. No, Simon and team and listeners, it's the poor window cleaner. That innocent man, what must he have thought? Well, clearly, Mark, we know exactly what he thought, because he said, I think he's dead. So that's precisely what he thought. Anyway, who would have thought that? What a scary driving instructor. That's why we called it Enraha, because it's the only other scary driving instructor moment. I'd have definitely walked from then on. What do you think, Sister Rebecca?
She was persistent,
She
wasn't
was
she? She was like
scary.
a baddie in one of those horror movies. They just never stop.
Like
you know?
the woman in Misery.
Yeah, exactly like the woman in Misery.
Yes,
yeah.
thank you very much.
But I do think that rather than just ignoring her and pretending he wasn't there, Mark could have been a bit cleverer and just asked his parents to book him in with another driving instructor.
I've got that.
Yeah, because I'm sure
Change
there were
instructor.
other driving instructors were available. So I think that was a bit
I think the implication was
short-sighted of
rural
him.
Kent in the 1970s.
There was only Jean.
There was just
yeah.
Oi, Mark!
But you know,
I'm coming to get you.
anyone who calls the person they're teaching to drive an idiot boy repeatedly, I'm sorry, deserves it. So I'm forgiving you, Mark.
That's a very, very good point, Deadly.
Yeah, I forgive you on the basis that she was calling you that idiot boy, and you were then paying her. You were paying her for these 2 hours instruction. And of course, you had to bear in mind that on that afternoon, or whenever it was, that she was trying to find you, she got the next 2 hours free anyway, because there was no other booking. How did she know which bedroom to find you in? It was what I first thought. But the one with the window open?
Yes.
Possibly. People do leave windows open, though, at height, for some unknown reason. But also, she sounded horrendous. So anyway, I sympathise and I forgive.
Thank you very much indeed, Brother Matthew.
I'm firmly in the camp of the driving instructor. I think she's great. I love the idea that she's saying, idiot boy, when are you going to work out hill starts? Clutch control, come on!
You may think that, but you don't say
No, absolutely, I love it. I love it when people do it. I love the idea that somebody who's supposed to be guiding someone through something is clearly so badly suited to that job. But absolutely, and full marks for not being put off by no one answering the door or no one answering the phone. I'm going to send the window cleaner up to that, just on the off chance that someone's in that bed.
Do you
Brilliant.
drive?
Well
Do
done.
you drive?
I do drive. My instructor was very good.
Okay, people's verdict, please. Tonight's comes from Doodlebug. Thank you, Doodlebug. You'll see why he's called Doodlebug in just a moment. My dear Father Simon in the Inquisition, my story goes back to the early 1980s. Back then, teenagers, such as myself, didn't have smartphones, computers or Wi-Fi, and our social lives revolved around the school bus and youth club, and not Twitter or Snapchat. Then, in 1981, somebody somewhere high up in government, as a result of a lot of pressure, made CB radio legal. Citizen band radio.
Good buddy,
Breaker,
good buddy.
breaker. Exactly, 10-4. I can remember being a rather excited 14-year-old when my brand new, shiny and legal CB turned up. Initially, the airwaves were full of country and western types yee-hawing and 10-4ing and living the American Midwest dream, which is pretty pointless if you live in Hertfordshire, says Doodlebug. It was bound to happen that gradually the citizen band radio airwaves were taken over by teenagers who used it to improve their social circle. I lived near Hitchin and spent the evenings chatting to people with strange names like Minder, Medusa, Slush Puppy and Turbo Turtle. Imagine that. And I'm Doodlebug, okay. Well, we would arrange to meet people, a bit like a blind date really, but they were called bizarrely eyeballs, and this then developed into a Saturday night social event. Every Saturday night there was a fox hunt held in Hitchin. This is a CB fox hunt. This was hide and seek by radio, with one group of people in a car going off to hide, and then by giving the other participants a return call called a count. Fox, give us a count. These events were all very well attended, involving 100 or so people, and went on till dawn on a Sunday morning. Petrol in those days was cheap. This is a whole picture of the early 80s. Do you remember any of this, Rebecca? This is your kind of period.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Were you a CB radio enthusiast?
I wasn't kind of driving around at that point.
Were you not?
No.
Okay.
Different times.
Different times, obviously.
Yeah.
Then one day this character, who was calling himself Level 42, appeared. He sounded like Gervais the hairdresser, a character from Steve Wright Show on Radio 1, which was on at the time, for people who remember that. One day, Level 42, who we later found out was a guy called Nigel, asked to meet a female friend on the CB, so she asked me to go along. We stood outside the Wimpy, and the following sight met our eyes. A tall, skinny lad wearing, get this, brown moccasins, white socks, purple leg warmers, brown cords, white shirt, maroon tank top, and sunglasses. And he really did talk like Gervais the hairdresser. So Nigel, a.k.a. Level 42, used to come in for a lot of stick on air. One Friday night, he rudely interrupted an on-air conversation, got the huff, and disappeared on everyone who was on that channel. Someone then announced that they'd found Nigel a few channels away. We decided it was time for revenge. Nigel was chattering away when I broke in with a fake Brummie accent.
Oh, yes.
No.
Here it comes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You can do
Yeah,
it.
you know, just a fake one, so it doesn't have to be any good.
You've got a connection to that part of the world,
Yes.
haven't
Yes,
you?
I used to
Absolutely,
actually
yes.
have a Brummie accent.
Go on,
you go.
We've got to go
You're
for it.
joking,
yeah,
are you?
yeah.
I lived in Solihull, and when I was...
Solihull's the poshest part of the West Midlands. The poshest part. Wait, which road were you? Lady Byron Lane, was it?
No, that's a
That
bit
is posh.
highfalutin.
That
too,
is
isn't it?
posh. No, that is
Nigel
posh.
was chattering away when I broke in with a fake Brummie accent and call sign. Then my co-conspirators joined in, claiming to be picking Nigel's massive signal up in places far away. Nigel was lapping it all up, getting rather excited. It was all too easy for things to get slightly out of hand. I was suddenly called Shamrock from Dublin, which was strange, as I could only do a broad Belfast accent, and I'm not doing that.
Come on.
You've got to do one of these. You've got to do one of these.
And then someone was claiming to be in Glasgow and
Yes.
admiring Nigel's massive signal from there. Pierre arrived on the channel from Paris.
Wow.
Joined swiftly by people in Amsterdam and Munich. Someone tried their luck saying that they were in the Big Apple. Nigel just lapped it up. And then things suddenly went out of control and a bit silly. As more people joined in on the wind-up, Ranjit from Delhi said he was enjoying the massive aerial. Su Ming from China Bob Tucker from the Australian outback, all appeared on this particular channel, saying that they could hear everything loud and clear. There was pandemonium on the channel. Everyone said they'd send photos of themselves to Nigel if he could send them photos of his aerial. We believe snaps were taken, but no one sent the stamped addressed envelope as they had promised. Well, this is the reason why Father Simon wished to beg forgiveness, not for winding up Nigel, a.k.a. Level 42, as it was massively funny at the time, but would like to apologise for the commotion which confused a fair few people all over Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. We had reports of people 50 miles away wondering what on earth was going on. Anyway, yours respectfully, Doodlebug, 1981 to 1994. So that's how long... He gave up in 1994. And that was it. He'd had enough, clearly. Anyway, who'd have thought such fun could be had on a CB radio? I think there could be other kind of strange CB radio confessions. Anyway, but Rebecca's going first.
So is having a massive signal something to be very proud of in the CB world?
Yeah,
clearly.
So, yeah.
It's a kind of macho thing, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And clearly he was hook, line and sinker when he had calls from Delhi and China and everything else.
I think it's a great practical joke, and it doesn't matter that Nigel believed them because it was funny, and I forgive anything that I think is funny. So I'm going to forgive Doodlebug.
All right, very good. Let's see what, by royal appointment virtually, Delhi will make of this.
I was near Horse Guards Parade and all that stuff. Yeah, very funny. I thought I agree with you, Rebecca. Echoes of Hancock and the radio ham in all of that. Yeah. It is raining here also. Yeah, I thought it was very, very good. And it serves Nigel right anyway for having a maroon tank top.
He does sound an eccentric dresser.
That's the
I think good dresser.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Really?
With that lot?
In the time, different times, as we
Do you think what? White socks, purple leg warmers and brown cords?
Yeah.
Come on. Matt, what do you think?
Here we go. Yes, I did a bit of the CB radio when I was
you?
Yeah. And there was this. They had this whole sort of code, which I always thought was a bit pointless because you always had to end up explaining what the code. They would say like, how many candles are you burning? And they'd be like, what? And that means how old are you? And then we're talking about I'm just at the donut, which was roundabout. Why not just say roundabout?
What was your handle?
I can't remember.
Yes, you can.
No, I can't. I can't. Or make one up.
never forget that.
Make one up, but I can't. So for that reason, I am going to forgive because it takes me back. 1-9 for a rig check. I remember that.
Whoa.
Yes, yeah, indeed. That meant go to Channel 19.
Oh,
Again,
okay.
why not just say go to Channel 19?
Bit of a warning, this is a foodie-based confession, but if you're eating at the moment, it's just a little bit of a warning, that's all. In case you're feeling
These
sensitive.
are always the good ones.
Do you think?
Where you have to do a warning, yeah.
It's from Bill. Hi, Simon. This confession goes back to 1978 when I was an apprentice French polisher with a small family firm in Liverpool. At the time, I was the second oldest apprentice out of the four of us and was in my second year of apprenticeship. One of my jobs was to do the sandwich run. The first year apprentices made the tea. Tommy, the shop foreman, who was a lovely man but very strict with us apprentices, would insist that his sandwiches came from one particular shop, his coffee came from a particular coffee shop, and his 2 jam donuts had to come from a particular bakery which was a few hundred yards down the road. The reason being was that they were extremely big donuts with loads of jam in the middle. And most of the time, the qualified polishers would be out on their jobs in banks or hotels, and sometimes in between jobs they had to work in the workshop. Now, on this day, old Fred was in the workshop. He would have been about 90 at the time. Nice guy, terrible teeth. I took the sandwich orders, and Tommy had gone out to drop off some furniture. I knew that Tommy would want his sandwiches from one particular shop and his donuts from one particular bakery. When I arrived back with all the food, old Fred, who used to take the mickey out of Tom, said... No, I didn't. I did think for a moment of doing an old guy's voice. Does Tommy still have his jam donuts, son? To which I replied, yes, Fred, I've got them. They're over there. Well, let me tell you, Father Simon, what he did next will stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yuck.
Fred did no more than to walk over to the bag, take the first donut out. He squeezed it, put his lips, and sucked out all the jam, rinsed it round his mouth, and then blew the donut back up with the jam from his mouth. Put the donut back as if nothing had happened to it. He then did the same with the second donut. With me I said, you can't do that. Don't, Fred, I'm going to get into trouble. Fred said, shut up, he'll never notice. And then, I've been doing this for years. Tommy arrived back and we all sat down for lunch. He was impressed that I'd remembered to buy sandwiches from one shop and his donuts from the other. He ate the sandwiches, saying how nice they were, and he started on the donuts, all us apprentices sitting nervously watching, terrified about what was about to happen. When Tommy complained that there wasn't much jam in his donuts, 4 young heads turned to old Fred, who was sitting like Albert Steptoe, ask your parents, hiding behind his sandwiches, giggling away. Tommy insisted I tell the shop the next day that he was disappointed that there's not enough jam in his donuts anymore. I obviously said absolutely nothing. But I would like to seek forgiveness from Tommy for not letting him know what Fred did, who is sadly departed, so I would ask forgiveness from the collective in place. So, well, I did warn you, but I just liked the idea of a simple little stunt, really, which I think was carried out there with great style. So let's see what we make of this. Sister
I'm
Rebecca.
trying to work out what was motivating old Fred to do that. Why didn't he just suck the jam out and eat it and not replace it?
He obviously
didn't like Tommy very much. He had some kind of grudge against him.
That was quite I think he just took the mickey out.
I think Bill could have told Tommy a tale, a white lie of some sort, to stop him from eating the donuts, and not actually told him what old Fred was doing. I think that's what he should have done.
Who'd have thought that was even possible? Maybe you could try it with your own donut to actually suck out the jam and then push it back in again.
You'd need a kind of vacuum, wouldn't you, to do that.
I
Anyway, I think it wasn't up to Bill to tell Tommy, but I think he should have told him, something else in order to stop him eating the disgusting donuts. So I'm not going to forgive.
Not forgiven. Okay, Nigel.
Gosh, that's a roller coaster, isn't it? A bit like me running up the 6 flights of stairs. I'm all right. I'm back with you now. Apologise for that. Yes, gosh, old Fred, he was a bit of a warped fellow, wasn't he? He's and very difficult, I think, for Bill at that stage to know it being out for years to break it to Tommy, and I think a little white lie would have been it would have got him into more trouble. And old Fred has gone onto the great donut in the sky. So I think Bill is forgiven because he just couldn't help himself. There was very little he could do, and he was an apprentice. Life would have been much worse for him if he had said nothing.
Yeah, and old Fred had been there. Well, nice guy, terrible teeth. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought he was going to take his teeth out for a minute, actually, and put those in there or something. But anyway, at least
he
didn't.
through the filter of his terrible teeth.
Oh, nice.
Brother Matt.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't Bill's fault, was he? He was just the apprentice. And you have to admire that skill, being able to suck all that jam out and then put it all back in again. I'm not
going to
sure
try that.
Yeah, but also, here's the thing, is there isn't actually enough jam in donuts. Certainly for years, when I don't bother with jam donuts anymore, because there's never any jam in there anyway. It's always...
Maybe this is why.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the reason why I can't get a decent jam donut anymore. So for that reason, I am not going to forgive.
Well, that was it, and not bad, really. And if you've got a confession, don't forget, if you've got a Christmas one, it's too late in terms of winning a prize, but we'd always like to hear your confessions. So by all means, send them in. We will read them, of course, send them in, but it's too late for the prize. I think that's clear. Anyway, it's confessions@bbc.co.uk. More in a week. Thank you so much.